So I wasn't gonna make this video, but I realized that A, we're in a tech news drought, and B, I haven't uploaded a single video this month. Yeah, I haven't uploaded a single video this month. But because we're in a tech news drought, I basically can't make any videos, so today instead, we're gonna be doing a tier list video. Yes, we're doing a tier list, and this tier list is gonna be about every single product that Apple's introduced this year, along with every event they've held this year, and not only that, but every major software update they had this year. Obviously not counting the dot updates, just iOS 15, iPadOS 15, things like that. So let's get started with the events, and I'm going to start off with this event, the spring-loaded event. Now, this event I was expecting to be disappointing, but when it actually happened, it was jam-packed. They were not kidding when they said spring-loaded, so I guess we'll put this at an A tier. Yeah, A tier I think is appropriate for that. And yes, I'm doing this in Pixelmator. Fun fact, actually, these colors are actually inspired by the Imac colors, and so S tier is the best that can possibly be. A tier is alright, or actually no, it's not alright, it's great, but S tier is just groundbreaking. B tier is good, C tier is okay, D tier is bad, and F tier is trash. So, yeah, there you go, that's how I'm ranking these. Alright, next up, AirTags. Now, these things were very much rumored. Obviously, these been rumored for like 2 years before they actually finally came out. And when they came out, it felt like everybody was, kind of saying like, oh, it's kind of still boring. But, it's pretty cool though. It's a pretty cool product, but, it's just kind of basic. It's pretty simple. So I guess, it's pretty useful, so I guess we'll put it at A tier as well, so, yeah. Alright, next up, we have the 4K 2021 Apple TV. This added the A12 Bionic chip compared to the A10X, which was, it was kind of like an upgrade when it comes to CPU performance, like a small upgrade when it comes to CPU performance, but when it comes to GPU performance, the A10X in a lot of cases was even better than the A12. But the A12 was the first time, or actually no, not the first time, the second time that Apple made their own custom internal GPUs for processors. Meanwhile, the A10X was the last time that they used like PowerVR GPUs, internal GPUs for the processors. And the A11 was when they switched over to their own GPUs. So in some cases, I guess it could perform better, but it's still hit or miss, I guess. But the remote was very good. So, I'm gonna chuck it. The box would have been probably B tier. The remote would be A tier, but I'm just gonna rank the box at B tier because it's still pretty expensive, though. It's $180, and don't even get me started on the 4K, or not the 4K one, the HD one. If that HD was in this list, it would already be at F tier, but it'll probably even be below F tier. But yeah, the HD one would have been below F tier. The 4K one is all right, let's just say. All right, now let's get into the M1 iMac. Now, when this thing was announced at the Spring Loaded event, it would have been at F tier because I hated the design of this thing like many people did. But after like a few months, design really grew on me, and now I have a lot of different opinions than when I had at launch. And now I really like it. I would put it at S tier, but it still had the M1 chip, and I still don't think design would be the best thing that they've picked, so I guess A tier. Yeah, A tier I think is good for it. Alright, now let's get into the M1 iPad Pro. Now, the M1 iPad Pro was my favorite thing that they announced at the Spring Load event back then, but I would have put it at A tier. like back in April when it was first announced, but after WWDC with iPadOS 15 and everything, I don't know where to put it. I'm thinking like it's still a good product, but it feels kind of like a huge disconnect between the software and the hardware. So I'm gonna put it actually at B tier. Yeah, because it's definitely not worth upgrading if you already have a 2018 or a 2020 iPad Pro. So yeah, it's B tier for me because of how underwhelming it was. All right, now let's get into WWDC 2021. Now, I mean, there was a lot of hype for this event. Like, seriously, everybody was expecting so much for this event because we were expecting a huge upgrade to iPadOS after the new iPad Pros were announced, and we're expecting the huge upgrades to the Macbook Pros with at the time we were calling them M1X processors. But I mean, like, if all of those happened, then this event would have been at S tier. But of how underwhelming this event was, and how underwhelming all the software upgrades were, and how terrible that intro was. Can we talk about that intro? That the intro was terrible. It was so long and it's just terrible. And so I would have to chuck it at, I mean, it was not the worst event they've held, but definitely down there. So I guess I'm going to chuck it at it's mixed between C or D tier. I'm going to chuck it, I'm just going to be generous. Or actually, no, I'm not going to be generous because it was disappointing. I'm going to chuck it at D tier. Let me change the size of this. Yeah, D tier. So, yeah, it was just bad. And speaking of things bad, iOS 15. iOS 15, when it was first announced, seemed like a pretty exciting upgrade. We got new Maps updates, huge upgrade to the Maps app, the new redesigned Safari. It felt like a good upgrade. And also we got SharePlay as well, FaceTime links, so you can FaceTime on Android even. It seemed like a good upgrade, but in terms of stability, it was terrible. For me, at least, it was just terrible. And so, I don't know where to put it. I guess, I mean, I don't really like it, and plus the Safari UI was just an all-down mess when it was first announced, so I guess, and also stability is just terrible. So I'm going to put it at, again, D tier. It was just terrible. So yeah, iOS 15, D tier. Now, iPadOS 15. Now again, if we got all those upgrades that we were hoping for, S tier, S tier, S tier, 100%. But because of how underwhelming it is, and plus how it ruined the home screen, plus how one of the most exciting features for Swift Playgrounds 4 is still not even out, I'm going to have to chuck it at F tier, honestly. Like, it is just an all-around bad upgrade. It's just, I just hate iPadOS 15. It's just bad. WatchOS 8. Now, I've heard a lot of stability issues for this as well. And, I mean, like, I don't own an Apple Watch, so I can't really confirm that. But, I mean, like, I've seen some big stability issues with John Prosser. He shared a video of his Apple Watch spazzing out. And so, I'm going to check it. It doesn't look like as bad of stability than iOS 15 or iPadOS 15. And so, I'm going to chuck it at C tier. And plus, there was also, an alright upgrade. It was, not that major. No, none of the WatchOS upgrades are that major, so to speak. But, yeah, it's just, it's alright. But out of everything that they announced at WWDC, macOS Monterey was probably the best thing that they announced. And I'm going to have to chuck it at, I don't know where to chuck it. I'm going to chuck it at probably either B or A tier. I'm going to have to chuck it at A tier because it's, a really good upgrade. It's definitely the best thing they announced at WWDC because we got, SharePlay, AirPlay to Mac, the redesigned Safari, which was very critically received though, and, all those other upgrades, the new FaceTime upgrades, things like that, it's a good upgrade. So yeah, macOS Monterey, definitely a good upgrade. Alright, now let's move on after the 3-month tech news drought. And now we're in another tech news drought. we have the September 2021 Apple event, California streaming, that is. Now, when it came to the production of this event, it was S tier, 100%. Probably one of the best produced events that they've ever done. But in terms of the products, though, I mean, all these products that they were announced at the event had something that was wrong when it came to the rumors of them. And like, that's not a bad thing, because, we got very much surprised at this event. So I'm going to check it at A tier. Yeah, A tier I think is good for it. Or actually, because of the production, I'm actually going to check it at S tier, because it's, a really good event. I'm going to make some space here for all the other things that we have coming up, so.
A few moments later.
Okay, there we go. So it made a little bit more space for the S and A tiers, because there's a lot of those coming up soon. Alright, now let's get into some of the things that were announced at this California streaming event. So, first off, we have the iPad 9. Now, this thing was very much a surprise straight off the bat, because Mark Gurman said that there was going to be no iPads until October, and then the event immediately started with the iPad 9. And the iPad 9 as well was very surprising, because if we were expecting a redesign for it, like a thinner redesign for it, a laminated display, A13 chip, and things like that, but we didn't get a laminated display or a thinner design. We did get the A13 chip, and we also got Center Stage, which is a very big surprise, and also the silver model with black bezels, which is pretty surprising, and also the upgraded storage to 64 and 256 gigs. So it's still a good product. It's definitely one of the best value products you can get right now. And so, because of how underwhelming it was, because, it was rumored to be big, kind of. And so I'm going to check it at B tier. It's good, but, it's kind of underwhelming. So, yeah. But the iPad mini was very much exciting. It was very exciting to see this thing finally get redesigned. And when it was officially announced, I was screaming. I was just screaming. It was insane. So I would check it at S tier, but I don't think it's like worthy of that because of everything else that we have coming up. So I'm gonna check it at A tier. Yeah, A tier I think is good for it. And plus we also got the Jellygate, which is not as big of a deal as everybody's making it out to be. It's not that big of a deal. Cough stamp for my update. Anyway, now we have the Apple Watch Series 7. Now, this thing was very, very much a surprise because we were expecting it to be a flat design and a dual-sided SIP with better battery life, but all we got was a bigger display, thinner bezels, and that's it. That's literally all we got. Obviously, it's more durable, and, we got more colors, which is cool, but aside from that, it's basically just an Apple Watch Series 6, except with a new screen. And that's about it. That's literally all we got. So because of how underwhelming it was, I don't know where to check it. Maybe a B or C tier. I'm going to be generous because, it's a cool design. And so I'm going to check it at, B tier. But, it's just very boring. So, yeah, that's the Apple Watch Series 7 for you. Alright, iPhone 13 and 13 mini. I'm combining both of those because, but iPhone 13 mini, I was expecting them, along with, everybody else in the tech community, to be a boring upgrade. And for some reason, people are still surprised that it was a boring upgrade. I don't know why. But when it actually came, it was actually more exciting than I thought. Because, you got the cinematic mode, the bigger battery life. I was not expecting it to be that much better, especially for mini. The mini battery life is just insane. And I was also not expecting the A15 chip to be as powerful as it was, because, the A15 chip seemed like, a boring upgrade, but when it actually came, it actually seemed like a pretty substantial upgrade over the A14. So because of that, I'm going to chuck it at, A tier. I think A tier is perfect for it, and sorry for the noises in the background, it's just... yeah, remodeling. But anyway, that's iPhone 13 for you. And iPhone 13 Pro, I'm also going to check it probably at A tier. It's not the biggest upgrade, but, it's a really good upgrade. It's really good. So yeah, iPhone 13 Pro, definitely A tier for that. Alright, now we have the last event of the year, which was the Unleashed event. Now, this event was, very good. It was a very good event, but, it was shorter. It was very short. It was only 50 minutes long, and, that's kind of unusual. So I'm going to check it out. It was definitely good. It was definitely a good event. And so I'm going to chuck it at probably A tier. Yeah, A tier I think is appropriate for it. Because, it was definitely a good event, but it was definitely not the best event of the year. So, yeah, A tier I think is good enough for it. Now we have the HomePod Mini Colors. And also the HomePod Mini software update for 2021. Now, the HomePod Mini Colors are amazing. Like, the colors are just really good. I would have preferred them to use more of the Imac-like colors, which we technically got the Imac-like colors of the yellow, orange, and blue, but I would prefer them to add, like, all of the 2021 Imac colors. But, good colors, and I would chuck them at, like, A tier if it was just the colors, but also, we also got lossless audio on the HomePod Mini, and from what I've heard, it sounds better. From what I've heard from other people. And so, like, because it got better sound technically, so I'm going to check it still at A tier. But, yeah, it's just pretty good, especially for the colors specifically. So, yeah, it's never been a better time to buy a HomePod Mini. So, yeah. Alright, Airpods 3. Now, if these things were cheaper at, like, $150 or $130 even, I would check them at A tier, but because of how the AirPods Pro have been absolutely dropping down in price, like there was some times where AirPods Pro were $160 over this past Black Friday, I would have to check the AirPods 3 at, B tier, because it seemed like if it was just cheaper, then it would have been perfect. It would have been, like, very good value. But because of how much AirPods Pro have dropped down in price, AirPods 3 are just B tier. So, yeah. Alright, two things left. We got the M1 Pro and M1 Max chips. Do I even need to explain this? It's immediately S tier. Like, it is just absolutely game-changing for the M1 Pro and M1 Max chips. These things are insanely powerful. Like, so powerful. Over 12,000 in Geekbench scores 11,000. And so, yeah, these things are just really, really streaming powerful. And just insane power. In fact, that this is, again, going to get even better with the Mac Pro next year is going to be pretty exciting. So, yeah. And the package that the M1 Pro and M1 Max chips ship with are, of course, the new MacBook Pros. The M1 Pro and M1 Max MacBook Pros. And obviously, these things are immediately S tier again as well. Mainly because these things are just insane. Like, the display is just insane. All the best that they possibly can. It felt like they pushed these things off, like, to the max that they can possibly go to. Like, they pushed the display to the best that they can. They pushed the keyboard to the best they can with, removing the touch bar and replacing it with the full-size function keys. It felt like they really listened to the pro market for the first time in forever. They also, added back ports, which was the first time that they've, I think that's the first time ever they removed something and added back to, especially the Mac lineup. Like, the Mac lineup's always, for the last couple of years has been removing all the different things, but this is the first time that they felt like, okay, let's add back some things to make pros happy. And it felt like this was the time that they did it. So, yeah. It's just all around really good. And obviously the M1 Pro and M1 Max chips super powerful. And not only that, but just the battery life as well is just insane. Everything about these things are just the best that they could possibly go to. The only thing is the SD card slot and HDMI ports could have been better. They could have pushed the HDMI to 2.1 and the SD card slot to more faster speeds, but it's just pretty good all around. and also MagSafe coming back. Like, that is just incredible. And so yeah, it's just all around really good product, and definitely probably the best product that Apple's introduced this year. So here we go. This is my tier list of all the Apple products that Apple's announced this year. It felt like this year's been like a roller coaster, where we started off really good with the Spring Loaded event, then we dropped down to pretty bad with WWDC, then good with California streaming, and then insane with the Unleashed event. And so, yeah, overall a pretty good year. Here's everything that I ranked this year. And so, yeah, that's basically it. See you guys later. And yeah, and see you guys later for the last 5 weeks of 2021. It's kind of crazy that we're almost out of this crazy year. So yeah, see you guys later.